Yeah, I'm definitely a very, ambitious, goal-oriented individual. I think that just stems from my childhood and my upbringing and some of the tough things I went through. I think, at a young age, life threw me some really challenging obstacles that just forced me to adapt and to be a survivor.
Are you running a marathon? Oh my god, I could never run a marathon. You sure about that? My god, a marathon? That's like 42 kilometers, 26 miles. I don't understand those people.
That used to be me, but not anymore. Welcome to the Marathon Podcast. My name is Christian Warwick, aka Warwick Runs on different platforms. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. I just want to start this episode by saying thank you to all of you who reached out after my marathon, to all of you who've been reaching out before the marathon and kind of cheering me on. And this podcast is now growing so much, and I appreciate all of you following, listening, and especially when you tag me or the podcast. If you haven't already, follow the Marathon Podcast on Instagram. Yeah, just really, really grateful, and it means a lot. It gives me a lot of extra inspiration and motivation to run, and obviously to have this podcast. So thank you to all of you. Really appreciate that. Just wanted to add something to the last episode where I was talking about my marathon. So that was yesterday, if you're listening to this on the day that this episode comes out. I got a question from Leah, who's previously been on the podcast, about my peak mileage built in this marathon block. And that was 72 miles. So I'm not at like a very high mileage yet. I'm hoping to be at a bit of a higher mileage when starting this marathon block for Valencia. But I'm also going to add some cycling in there just to be able to build my capacity without that mechanical load. I'm not going to talk more about my marathon. If you want to hear more about it, go back, listen to that episode, because today it's all about Joe Greer. Joe Greer is an amazing photographer. I've been following him for years. And it turns out, I've obviously known about this for years too, he's a very good runner. Joe is the kind of person that is really fascinating to follow because he's all over the world. And he's traveling all the time, but he still finds time to train, to work out, to run. And I'm just really fascinated by that. I always find it so nice when you meet people that you've been following for a long time and they turn out to be the exact same person as the one that you saw on social media. Joe was one of those people. He was so nice and humble, and I honestly felt like it was like chatting to a friend, which is the best when it comes to these episodes because they feel so much more natural. I'm really, really excited for you guys to hear this episode just because Joe has a lot to contribute with. He's great at facing adversity, challenges, and, you know, the way he is working through his challenges as a runner, whether that is injuries or setbacks. Just very impressed, and I think that we all can learn a lot from that. And I'm also excited for you guys to hear how he's balancing being creative and being a runner, and how he's talking about how he sees things when he's running that are in the creative space, like seeing creative or potential shots when he's running. I'm so excited to have Joe on. I think that he was kind of one of the people that I was dreaming about having on when I first started this podcast, and I'm very happy that he's finally on. So enjoy this episode, enjoy this conversation with Joe, and if you're out running, keep your pace, and if you're sitting down, lean back and just enjoy this great chat. Joe Greer, welcome to the Marathon Podcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm doing well. Yeah, just stoked to be here. I know it's taken a while to get to this moment. Life's been kind of chaotic, but grateful to be here, man, and to chat about all things life and running.
Yeah, like I told you just before we jumped on here, you're probably the one that I've been wanting to have on since I started this podcast because of our mutual interests with running and photography. And yeah, I've been following you for a long time. I was following you before I got into running myself and before I learned that you were a runner. So yeah, a huge moment for me, to be honest. But how is your shape right now? I know that you're in training. Before we dive into more, how's your shape?
Yeah, it's good, man. It's been a tough year. I've had to bail on a marathon earlier in the spring and the Copenhagen Marathon in May, which was not fun. I've kind of been dealt kind of with my first set of injuries that I've had ever. And so it's been challenging to kind of navigate through that. Things getting really good, and then they flare up again, and it sets me back. And so it's been that way since January, honestly. So it's been a long 9 months of kind of figuring out my calves and my shin splints and some knee stuff. But I'm in the best shape I think I've been all year right now. So I've got the Copenhagen half marathon in what, like 16 days. Yeah, the last 7-8 weeks have been very consistent, like the best 7-8 week block that I've had all all year of 2025. So yeah, I'm in good shape. Obviously the big race, the A race, is the New York City Marathon, which is November 2nd. So still got a little over 2 months from that, which is just very exciting to know that I'm going to put 2 more months of fitness on top of already what I've built is a very encouraging sign. So Copenhagen's going to be just a fun. My coach, which I think you're going to have him on, or you already filmed a
Yeah,
podcast with my
Jeff
coach.
will be on for the
Yeah,
next episode, the one after you. So
sweet,
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, Jeff made it pretty clear that New York is the A race. It is the goal. So Copenhagen will be treated as just like a really expensive uh, trip, expensive workout, I guess, going all the way to Copenhagen to run a half marathon for a workout. So I won't necessarily be uh, having a peak race there. He wants to make sure that I don't peak for Copenhagen, but that we peak at the right time for New York. So it'd be really weird to race in that context. I've never ran a race like that. Whenever I've ran a race, that's been the race, the A race that I'm going to give everything towards. So to not really have a taper, there may be a few day taper into Copenhagen, but to know that it's going to be a 60, 70 mile week, most likely, with a fast, Saturday race, where I'll probably end up running, 3, 4, 5 mile warm up, then race, and then do another 3 mile cool down. So it's going to be a big day of like probably 20 miles. So that's going to be interesting. But I'm very excited. Copenhagen is one of my favorite cities, and I'm very excited to go back and to race and to see what we got. But then to know that that race will be just a good deposit towards the main goal for New York. But yeah, man, I'm in good shape, grateful. Just managing these shin splints. They kind of come up here and there, but it's in a much better place than where it was when I had to bail on the Copenhagen Marathon back in May. So I'm just grateful that the body's doing what it should be doing. But I've also taken a lot more different elements of training way more seriously, like my strength training, like my warm ups. I usually just would go out and run cold. I would never warm up. And so just doing all the little things right. Also prioritizing sleep has been a really big thing. So I've seen a huge difference adding those things. But I'm happy. I'm grateful that the body's doing what it should be right now.
You hit a lot of things, or you talked about a lot of things here
I did.
that I
I did. My
want yeah, but
apologies.
that I want to
You asked
dive
me
more
one
in.
question. You asked me one question, and I'll talk for like maybe 10 minutes about 30 different things. So just a heads up on that.
I love that. That's what podcast is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Before we dive into more of these things in detail, for those who don't know you listening to this, who is Joe?
Mm. Um, I am a professional photographer. That's what I do as a career. I've been doing that for about 12 to 15 years, somewhere in that range. I'm a husband. I'm a father to my beautiful son Oliver. Married to my beautiful wife Maddie. I've been married 10 years. Oliver's about 2.5 now. Live here in Franklin, Tennessee. That also happens to be a marathon runner. I got back into running at the start of COVID in March of 2020. I think a lot of people probably got into running around that time when the world shut down and work stopped, and we were all super for the first, I think globally everybody was pretty health conscious in that moment. They're like, okay, what's this thing about? How do I? Okay, it's a cardiovascular disease. Okay, so for me, I got stuck here in Nashville. We were living in New York City, and I just all my travel and work stopped, and I was in a new city, and it looked like things were trending in the direction to where we were going to move to Nashville, and so I was bored, stuck at home, and I was like, okay, maybe now's a good time for me to kind of get back into running because I ran growing up. I ran in middle school. I ran in high school. Was pretty competitive there, and then stopped pretty much in my late teens, early 20s to focus on photography when that kind of came into my life, and dedicated most of my 20s to build my career to where it is now. And then COVID happened my when I was about 30, 31, and uh, got back into running, had the opportunity to race the New York City Marathon in 2021, and the rest was history. So yeah, I'm a photographer by trade. It is my passion in life. I feel alive when the camera's in my hands. It doesn't feel like work, which is wild. But now this running thing has kind of taken over my life in the best way possible. It's a pretty. I didn't think anything could ever compete to towards my love for photography, but I've definitely been proven wrong that running is it was my first love. So to rediscover it as an adult and to fall back in love with that has been a really just beautiful life giving process that is yeah taking me around the world. I've become a sponsored runner now through a few different folks. So that's just been a dream, and I'm starting to make money now from running, which is absurd. I never even in a million years thought that that would happen because I do pretty well for my photography career and had no intention or plan to make this running thing a job. I'm just very passionate about exploring the intersection of art, photography, creativity, and running and fashion. Trying to explore that intersection because I think it's a really beautiful crossroads that I've of things that I'm very interested in and pursue quite passionately. So to do that and to know that there are others out there pursuing it, even like yourself, that has a love for photography and art, but also runs, is a very unique and specific intersection that not a lot of people can relate to. That maybe more artists, as I'm seeing, photo friends of mine, over the last 10 plus years, are now starting to get into running in the last year or two, and it's been really awesome to see the photographer artist space embrace running. It's been truly, as I'm sure you know, like running has exploded worldwide, globally, and it's cool to see a lot of people partaking. But in the short or long answer, that's me. That's what I do. That's who I am, and yeah, I'm grateful to be here.
When you're talking about this and when you're talking about, falling back in love with running and having photography, and I think that, a lot of people will see you and like you said, you've had success as a photographer. I'm curious if like that hunger for success, like, so first of all, like, are you a very ambitious person in terms of goals and stuff, where the running kind of you almost needed the running because, and I'm not saying that photography as like your hobby got boring, but more like, you achieved a lot as a photographer,
Yeah.
and then trying to chase goals on other arenas. Did you feel like that was necessary at the point and still?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I'm definitely a very ambitious, goal-oriented individual. I think that just stems from my childhood and my upbringing and some of the tough things I went through. I think at a young age, life threw me some really challenging obstacles that just forced me to adapt and to be a survivor. And it really, not to make it too dramatic, but that's kind of what my life growing up forced me to do that. So I've always just gone after what I've wanted, because I didn't have a lot growing up and I had a lot of things kind of taken away from me. So I just knew, I never even think about it growing up as an adult. It's just like, this is my life. This is how passionate I am kind of pursuing these things. And when it happened with photography, nothing else mattered. It was just what I'm focusing on this and I'm going to get to where I need to go. And it happened. And I'm very grateful. I never looked at running as a thing that like I was getting bored with photography. I'm still not bored with photography. I've been doing it for 12, 15, 13, 14 years. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been over a decade. So I'm still, like I mentioned, like I'm still so giddy when the camera's in my hand, whether it's for a client or whether it's a personal trip or a personal photo project that I'm working on. I feel alive when the camera is in my hand, and whether I'm making money for it or I'm not. And so I think that's a very important ingredient, especially for us photographers and us artists. Like, I'm grateful that it makes me money and I get to travel the world and provide for my family. But I make sure that I always try to keep that spark alive. I think if anything, running is able to make that spark and that flame continue to burn very strongly. To have another outlet to where I don't really necessarily need to think about photography or my career. I mean, obviously, I think about creative ideas when I run, or projects or photo ideas, or I'll see something that I want to photograph on a run, and I don't have my camera, but I'm always thinking about photography, but running is just something so different that I just get to check out and just check in with myself and figure out where I'm at, artistically, creatively, personally, emotionally, spiritually, all of them. So they just both benefit each other. Running benefits my creative life, and my creative life benefits from running. So I am just very grateful that I have an outlet like running, and now that I'm starting to also intersect those two things. Right, there's been opportunities where I've been able to photograph more sport and more athletic and more movement, which I never really did before. So to be able to kind of bring together my love of running, but also with the camera, has been really fun.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about that later in terms of especially Bandit because I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of Bandit and
Yeah, is
not
that you
no,
wearing that shirt?
yeah, New
Yeah,
York.
that Vanish shirt,
Yeah.
nice.
You
Love
know,
it.
I love Bandit not just because of the clothes, like a lot of good brands out there, but the community
Yeah,
they're creating and the feeling of belonging to. I don't know. There's something about that I really really appreciate. Um,
right.
but before we dive into that, I would love to hear more. You did mention a little bit about your marathon journey, and since it's a marathon podcast, we obviously need to establish where you're at right now, but also
Yeah,
like if you go back to your first marathon that you did and
yeah,
up until today. And I also do want to mention because you mentioned like your past and upbringing, and there's a great documentary out there that Eric Floberg made, "Moving Still." I recommend people to watch that if they want to know more
yeah.
about you, and then we can dive
Thank
into
you.
other things. But I really recommend people to watch that because it's a great one and really get to know you in a different way, I think.
Mhm. Thank you.
So yeah, your marathon journey. What has it been like? Your first marathon and up until today.
Yeah, it's been a trip, man. It's big highs and very, very big lows. Um, the first one was so great, and which I did in New York City. That was my debut in 2021, and had really low expectations. Like I said, I grew up running, but I just never thought in a million years I'd run a marathon. That always just seems so far fetched, almost impossible to run that long. Because I was always just like a 5K guy, and so to run 8 times that was just insane to think about. But the opportunity came, and I was running a lot at that time, and I was like, "Oh, why not? I used to live in New York. Let's go back." It's very poetic to be able to return. This is a kind of we're getting in an almost post-COVID era in 2021 where the city was kind of coming back to life, and I was like, "Okay, let's just do it and let's have fun and let's see what happens." So the goal is really, I mean, I just knew that I wanted to try and break 3 hours, and I had a buddy of mine who a close friend, but also a friendly rival, who ran his first marathon in 2:56, and I just knew, or was it 2:53? It was a 2:53, and I just knew I wanted to beat him, and so it was like sub 3 for sure. Let's try to shoot for that. I believe I can do that. Um, but the 2:53, I was like, as long as if I can try to beat Joe, his name is also Joe. If I could beat Joe at 2:53 for my debut, I would be over the moon. So that was kind of the goals that I had, and we trained accordingly for that, in terms of my pacing and stuff. And I just had an incredible day. It was a beautiful day. It was cold. It was an awesome fall autumn day in New York City in 2021 when we raced, and wasn't hot at all. So perfect conditions. Um, and that was still to this day, I think, the easiest race I've ever ran, by far. I ran I think a 2:49 on that one, and it was just such a fun experience to be back in the city. And after that, as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. This marathon thing is crazy. It has my attention now. I'm gonna focus on this and dedicate to try to get faster and see what happens. And so then in the following year, which the documentary you just mentioned follows the journey for my second marathon, documenting that along with some of my kind of personal history, what I've been through. And that was in the CIM marathon and the California International Marathon in Sacramento. Did that 2022 in December, where I ran a 2:36. So I had like a 13-minute PR from my first marathon to my second marathon. That was just an incredible experience, and it just blew me away, how big of a jump I made. And that was very exciting, and but also very little did I know how hard it was to run a PR every marathon because I just assumed being so new to this distance in this world of marathon running that I was just going to keep on PR after PR. I'm just going to cut down. I'm like, man, I'm going to run an OTQ. I'm going to qualify to the Olympic trials. Like I just assumed like 13-minute PR. I'm going to go get another 13-minute PR and run a low 220. No chance. I went back to CIM the following year, 2023. And at that point, that was my worst race. I think I ran like a 241. I was going for like a sub 230 or a low 230 and just hit the wall for the first time. The dreaded wall everybody was talking about. I hit it at about mile like 15 or 16. And it was a long day after that. I stopped probably 7, 8 times, walked up a lot. I sat down on the curb at one point, and this is my wife was pregnant. She wasn't there, so Oliver was going to be born soon. I remember sitting down on the curb, and it was just so cinematic in my head because like runners were just passing me, sounds, cups dropping because it was right by a water station. And I'm just sitting there just I mean, it was probably like mile 19, 20, I think. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm calling it. I'm pulling the plug. And I sat there for like a minute and I'm like, dude, get off your ass and go. Like you're having a son and you're going to, uh, teach him that when you start things, you need to finish them and see it through. And so Oliver came through my head in that moment. I got up and finished the race, and it was one of the hardest marathons I've actually it wasn't the hardest. The next one was the hardest. It was one of the toughest marathons I've had in terms of like I was so hard on myself to experience that kind of defeat. I mean, at the point it was my second fastest marathon, so but it was still like I just assumed I was just going to keep pushing the bar in terms of my PR, and I had a massive reality check. And so that was really necessary and needed for me at that point of my running career. And so I kind of just like shook it off, kind of reset, and then I had Boston Marathon a few months later. And dang, when was that? 2024 spring, so last year. And was very excited about Boston. Went into it pretty good shape, I thought, until I had another bad race. If not, that was by far my worst marathon. Ran a 253, 254. It was horrible. I hit the wall pretty hard right before the Newton Hills at mile 16. And if people listen, don't know much about the Boston Marathon course, you've got the Newton Hills. It's about a 3 to 4 mile stretch of hills, finishing with Heartbreak Hill at about mile 19, mile 20. And so I hit the wall at the base of those hills and had to run up all of those hills. It was like unseasonably hot that race. And it was just absolutely brutal. I mean, I was just every station I was dumping water on myself. I like was delirious. I walked so much. I couldn't even explain to you how much I walked. And then I got like another like pump of just energy towards the end, and I was able to finish decently strong. But I also wasn't that upset about it. It was just a tough day, and I was way more hard on myself for that first bad marathon, the second CIM race. But Boston, it was an incredible crowd, incredible course. People were so electric, but Boston got the best of me that day. So I can't wait to go back and have a little redemption story at some point. And then a few months later in fall of last year, I raced Chicago for the first time. Incredible course, incredible city, a beautiful day, a little hot, but beautiful day, beautiful weather. It was really good up until about mile 20. I was on course probably for like a low 230. And then just the legs didn't have it. My hamstring kind of locked up, and I was able to squeak out I missed a PR by like 20 seconds. I think I ran a 237, 5 seconds or something. So yeah, just missed a PR. But I was pretty stoked that I was able to run that fast. Not having an ideal build, and also these give a little context. These 5 marathons, I never did any strength work, no weights, no squats, no no deadlifts, nothing. I literally would just run, no core work. So that's been a big change for me. So after that happened, I knew that I finally needed to kind of dedicate myself to like getting stronger and building strength. And I had the opportunity to sign up and to race Copenhagen, and had a really good winter, trained all throughout the winter. And then these shin splints started to flare up, and had to make the tough decision to drop out of Copenhagen because I just didn't have a really successful build. There was a lot of missed workouts, a lot of missed long runs. And so then it was just, okay, prioritize getting the shin right, getting the body right, which I've done that all summer. And so now I'm in a good place to be able to race the New York City Marathon, which will be the second time I'm running that. It's a tough course. It's a very hard course to PR on. Um, so I'm, I've had the goal over the last several years to try to break 2:30. Hasn't gone my way yet. That's a very daunting goal, and a very challenging one. And so I've been talking to Jeff that trying to break 2:30 at New York is a tall task, especially my PR being a 2:36:40 something. That's over almost a 7-minute PR on one of the country's, if not world's, hardest courses. So the goal is to definitely go low 2:30s. I think a 2:32 is possible. So that's kind of what I'm training for right now. And so we'll see what happens. So that's kind of the history. I've done 5 marathons. I've dropped out of one because of an injury, and going back to New York City, and I'm very excited. But it's been what, oh my gosh, almost 4 years since a PR, 3 years, 3.5 years. So I just want a PR, dude. If I can run 2:35, sweet. 2:34, awesome. 2:36 low, I'd be happy. I just want to have a positive. I want to be in the green. I want to have a PR day because I haven't tasted that in over 3 years, and it's been kind of driving me crazy. So as of right now, things are trending well, and having some really good runs and really good workouts. And I love the way that my body's kind of responding, especially adding strength. Been putting on some weight, which was unexpected, but I think that's all muscle, which is probably good things. So right now, it's just, yeah, building towards a really successful race in New York City.
When you're talking about this, I first of all, it brings me back to the spring when I was watching your series, your Copenhagen series, and I don't think I've ever been as heartbroken watching a series as
Mm.
when you said that you had to just call it a day for the Copenhagen Marathon, and we were able to follow your like journey with those injuries. But
Mhm.
what also strikes me is that you are, you've had quite a few setbacks, like you said, with the marathons and all of this. And it strikes me that you're pretty, like, you don't give up, right? It doesn't seem
Mhm.
like that's you. And I'm curious about how do you deal with these things when it kind of hits you in the face
Yeah.
several times, I guess, like if it's whether it's an injury or there are races not just going your way or
Right.
whatever. What goes through your head when these
Mhm.
things happen, and what makes you then just keep on working instead of saying, okay, I did a 2:36 back in the days, that was good, I'm still much better
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
most runners, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna
Right.
leave it at that.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I mean, what am I gonna do? Like, cry and pout and just be like, "Oh, okay, I'm just gonna give up and not run." Like, no, that's ridiculous. That's so dumb. Like, I'm still relatively young. I took off all my 20s from running, so my legs, my body, my skeletal system just has a lot of use left because I didn't just put it through a bunch of damage in my 20s running for a decade. So, recognizing that I still have a lot of life left in these legs, setback is part of the game. I've experienced a lot of setbacks in my personal life, and so I'm a little bit calloused to setbacks. I'm a little bit used to it. So when it kind of happened in the running situation, it was obviously very frustrating, very hard to had been planning for this Copenhagen race, and to my body's had other plans. Okay, well, let's take a step back. Let's learn. Okay, why did this go wrong? Okay, so you don't do strengths. You really don't prioritize nutrition. I have a crazy work schedule traveling situation. Like, I travel almost 100% for every job I do. I've rarely work in Nashville where I live. So my work is requiring me to travel all over the country, all over the world, which, as runners know, to have a very chaotic travel schedule is very not fun to try to have any kind of consistency in a marathon build. So I've been hit with several of my recent marathons, some of those bad races, with just very unfortunate traveling conflicts that has just allowed me to lose on sleep, lose on recovery. My nutrition's out of whack because I'm in a different country, eating a totally different type of food that I normally don't eat. I'm not able to sleep in my own bed. I'm having to run in a new city. I don't know routes. I don't know locations. I got to find a perfect route to run 17 miles to do this workout. So there's so many of that to where, like, That's so stressful when you're trying to set these big goals and work and life is just being like, nope, we're going to make it as hard for you as possible. We're going to make it as challenging for you as possible. So I embrace those challenges, but also it sucks because I would love to just be at home 24/7 to wake up, run, come home, hang out with my family, work whenever I need to work, and then do it all again tomorrow. But that's just not my reality. And so I've just, for the last several years, when I realized that that's not going to change because I got to be able to provide for my family and put food on the table, and I also love traveling, so it's fortunate and unfortunate. I'm not complaining because I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for what I get to do for a living. But so I just have to figure it out. I mean, there's no excuses. Nobody's gonna do it for me. The miles aren't gonna run themselves. I love running. I love racing. I love the marathon. I think it's one of the best distances. And so knowing that I had a lot of success early on in those first two marathons, and I haven't really tasted that kind of success since, it just makes me that much more hungry to taste it again. Because I know that that's not like my best marathon. Surely was not just going to be my second marathon, and that was it. And then I was just going to run a bunch of duds for the rest of my running career. I look at some other friends of mine who have gone through similar things where they had to put up a really fast race and they haven't been able to return since. And then recently they just returned after 4 or 5 years of constant marathons and just everything. You've run marathons, everything has to be right. My last three races has been unseasonably hot. I've run in hot weather. My last three marathons, my first two, perfect, mid 40s, low 40 degrees. Um, Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is, Celsius, but perfect, ideal racing conditions. And then my next three, hot as can be. And so it just everything has to go right. You got to get to that line healthy. You got to make sure you can get through a block with no flare ups, no injuries. And then you got to just pray that the conditions are right, that it's not too windy, it's not rainy, it's not too hot. And then if you get that and you had a successful build and your nutrition's dialed in that day and you carb load and you fueled appropriately those 3 days leading up to it and you got good sleep and the weather's right and you're wearing the right shoes, then maybe you can squeak it. You know what I mean? It's just so much has to happen for those things to fall into place. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened for me. But yeah, I'm just not one to give up. It's just not my style. That's not what I'm about. Um, I'm just very grateful that my life has been tough and challenging because it just has made me just a tougher human. And so that dealing with a setback like an injury and dropping out of the race, if at the end of the day it's just running, it's not that big of a deal. Like there's so many other things that have happened in my life or that I'm pursuing and trying to do that are way more serious than running a marathon or not being able to run a marathon because of an injury. So I always have to step back and just kind of look at the bigger picture that it's just running. It ain't that deep. It ain't that
Mhm.
serious. Obviously, like, it's serious for the pros and the people who are trying to win Olympics and do that, but for a guy like me in his mid-30s with a family, who travels a lot, and I'm just trying to better myself and run a faster marathon time, like, I'm gonna do everything I can to put in the work, to where when I get to the line, I can believe when that gun goes off that I had done everything necessary to get to this line prepared, for what's about to unfold over 26.2 miles, and so that's all I'm focused on for New York is just like doing all the little things right, doing all the core work, all the strength work, sleeping well, prioritizing that, and sticking to what my coach tells me to do, and just stick to the plan. And but yeah, no, it's giving up has never been in the equation. Maybe there'll be a moment where I'm done racing, but right now I can't even see that timeline at all. It's just uh, yeah, train, race, and, see what happens, but I will be doing something different next year, I will say that. I'm gonna take a break from the marathon space and try something, a little bit spicier, and so
Oh,
I'm very excited about that, but no, yeah, not giving up anytime soon, and, just don't wanna have any excuses?
I love that. And I also love what you're saying about, if I get you correctly, that you're kind of using your past for as more of like a motivation. And after Boston this year, I made a documentary on my own journey, and I had no idea
Mm,
what it actually would result in. So I was thinking that I would just, have this typical, what I call narcissistic film about myself running the Boston
mhm,
Marathon. Kind of like, hey, I did the Boston Marathon. This is how fast I ran. This is how I train. And then it turned out to be much more like a story about my dad. We have a great relationship, and my
mm,
life with anxiety. And then
yeah,
I also realized when making this how important running was. So like what you were saying,
Yeah.
it's not that important, but it's also important. So it's like you have
Yeah.
that mix. Um,
Yep.
I remember for me during that race, Boston was also for me very hard. From like after just 30 minutes, I felt like I was dying and didn't know if I would
Yeah.
make it. But then
Mm.
I got to some point where I was like, you know what, my whole life it feels like it's been building up to this very moment where I need to
Wow.
push through. And so
Yeah.
I got some extra energy, whatever, from those thoughts. And
Love that.
I'm curious, like you were saying that you use that in your everyday life with things, challenges that you face.
Hmm. Hmm.
But do you also experience something like that? Like, because there's nothing, at least in my opinion, that is as mentally challenging as running a marathon, especially
Right.
when you hit like 20 miles and you have
Yeah.
those last 6 miles. Um, do you have something like that in your head, or that goes through your head when you're at the end of a marathon that you kind of use to help you?
Yeah. I think at the end of a marathon, those last 6 miles, I'm thinking about nothing, no one. I'm just trying to survive. Like at least at these last several marathons, New York was a little bit different. I was running through Central Park in those last six ish, and so I mean, it was just beautiful, and it was a beautiful fall day, and I was just looking at people. And the second one, the first CIM where I ran my PR, I was thinking, uh, I was thinking obviously about Maddie, and because she wasn't there for the race, so I was just thinking about her, and her being pregnant with my son, and so that's kind of that helped, and that was yeah. But these last three that have been really tough, it was once mile 20 hit, it was just, dude, just survive, hold on for dear life, like drink as much water and Gatorade as you can at these aid stations, and just get to the freaking finish line. Walk if you have to. So in those moments, I'm not really thinking about any kind of motivational talk or quote or something from my childhood. I'm literally just trying to survive and to put one leg in front of the other. And so if those races had gone better and I was feeling pretty energetic, maybe my mind would have had the luxury to kind of wander off and to think about whatever. But in those tough marathons that I've raced, it's just trying to breathe and survive. As anyone who knows who has hit the wall at that part of the race, it is not fun, and you're going through it, and every ounce of brain power is telling you to stop. Everything in your mind is telling you, dude, this sucks. Stop running. You're an idiot. Pull over to the side and be done with this nonsense. That happens to me every time in those bad races, and I have to overpower. I have to like hard reset my brain and just be like, no, 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 just keep moving, keep the legs turning. It's not the pace you want right now, but just keep the body moving. And so, but it's I've learned things from those, and like I said, I'm not too uptight about it. I've learned a lot from those last three marathons that I feel pretty confident and pretty prepared for this next race in New York. But yeah, that's how it's been lately. Is I'm trying to survive, man. I'm not thinking about much.
No. I want to ask you. Yeah, thanks for that. I think that it's interesting to hear how people cope with those last 6 miles, because I think it's different
Mhm.
from person to person. Some people are having a lot of thoughts. Some people are just
Yeah.
like, okay, let's just keep the cadence up here. Let's
Yep.
throw my watch away, kind of. Just don't look at
Mhm.
the times, whatever. But you also talked about obviously having a busy life, and for those of us who are following you, we see that you're all over the world. And I remember watching one of your YouTube videos where you were traveling to Australia. You were there for a few days, and uh, I'm I think that a lot of the listeners here, they might find themselves in the same situation as you in terms of having busy lives. Maybe not
Yeah.
traveling as much, but maybe some are. Uh,
Yeah.
and how do you find time to still run and get your training in? And
Mhm.
also with that, I love your style in terms of clothing, and it's pretty vintage, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes I've thought about those shoes that you're wearing. Are they good for your legs? Like the ones that you're walking around and just like you look
Yeah.
super cool. But for me, when
Yeah.
I'm walking around, I'm like I did a wedding on Saturday, and
Yeah,
I was wearing my Nike Vomero with my suit. And it looked
that's
awful.
crazy.
It looked
Oh, that's
awful. It did
crazy.
not look good. But I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
I'm now a week away from my marathon, and I was like, I'm not gonna mess it up by
yeah,
wearing some
that's smart.
painful
No,
shoes for 12 hours.
yeah, that's smart. When it gets close to a race, I obviously throw that out the window. I'm not wearing like cowboy boots 2 days before my marathon, right? Like I'm being smart. I'm wearing the correct shoes. But when it's like during a training block and I'm traveling or I got a vacation or I'm going to Copenhagen to race, I'll be wearing fashion's a big part of my life and I love like you said, I do a lot of like vintage stuff and but it's yeah, no, that's what was your first question
The
before
first
that?
question was how you're able to combine the training
Oh,
with all the
the training
traveling,
jump.
time zones, long
Yeah. It
flights.
just yeah, you just like you said, like just there's no excuses. You just got to get the work done. Like I love running. It's not like I enjoy it. Like when I go to a new city, I get so excited to just explore a new city. What a gift to be able to do that through the avenue of running. Like you wake up early and you're like, okay, my hotel's right here. There's a canal system or a river that way. I'm just gonna go run and see what I see and get this 8 miles done or this 15 miles done or whatever. It's such a beautiful way. Take my iPhone, snap some photos along the way. Like it's such a fun way to explore a new city that you've never been to, or maybe you go to the city often and you remember some of the routes I used to run. But for me, it's yeah, I have to get it done. I pay for these races, and so I know I got a race on November 2nd, and the miles aren't going to run themselves. I'm not going to just magically be in shape if I choose not to run on a trip to Portugal. Like I got to get this stuff done. I got to get the runs in. I got to get the workouts in. So I try and make time and carve time. This block has been the best block I've had over the last 8 weeks. I've only missed one run, and that was last weekend. I was on a photo trip with some buddies, and I had a 16-mile easy run on Saturday, and I just could not get it in. It's just the way that our that weekend worked, and I also made sure to like give myself grace that like I this I've never been this consistent in an entire block ever. There's been times where I've missed a run here, missed a run or two a week, pretty much almost all my marathons, and so uh, to be 8 weeks in on the ninth week and only missed one run is a very encouraging um, sign of just improvement and where I'm at and the dedication I have right now just to like really go all in on this. 'Cause before I just kind of was relying on my just natural talent and the miles I was running to like kind of get me through. And we've seen over the last 3 marathons that has not really worked out in my benefit. So I'm trying to really flip that over its head and just like try not to make as many excuses and just get the runs done no matter what. And so having missed my first one, I'm pretty bummed about, but to know that just sometimes you just really can't get it in. And that's just at least my take with my work life kind of balance. But it's been I've been home a lot the last 8 weeks, so I'm very grateful that that's been the case, and I've been pretty consistent. So my wife and I leave Monday for our 10th anniversary trip. We're going to up to Cape Cod
Congrats.
for like a week. And so I've got a big workout on Wednesday that I'm trying to just plan ahead of time where our hotel is. Okay, let's check Strava, see what other maps or what other people are running around there, try to find, a route. So it just takes a little bit of planning to just, especially if you're going to a new place. That Strava mapping system's so good. Just to, when you go to a new town, you can look and see what other runners are running. Okay, here's a 5 mile loop. Let me do that twice or whatever. So I'm very grateful for things like apps like Strava that I can easily find some routes of what other people are doing in new cities. That makes it very easy, obviously. But for me, it's just I make it work. Like there's no other way to say it other than that. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
um, I'm gonna be better for it if getting it done. And then I got to go be on my feet for 8 hours on a photo shoot. It is what it is. So be it.
And I guess some of those travels are more motivational in terms of running than others. And what I
Yeah.
want to talk about now is that trip that I know you had with Adidas. Was it this spring
Yeah.
or when you got to go there? That looked like a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And I
Yeah.
guess like then you're able to combine. I don't know. Were you invited there as a photographer or was it as a runner or a combination? Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get there and what was it like?
Yeah, that was a really unique experience. Yeah, that was awesome. Being out there for the Road to Records event there at Adidas headquarters in Germany. Yeah, they invited me as like a runner, kind of. personality situation. So it had nothing to do with photography or my
Wow.
photography career, which is a trip because usually that's how I'm getting invited to things like that. Um, is for that. So for Adidas to want me to be a part of it, just kind of as this, this running voice in the community, I was just blown away. It was like, so I don't need to take photos. You don't need this many assets. I don't need to create this photo catalog for you for your, no, no, no. Just come share on your running Instagram page. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. That's a first. And so when that opportunity came up, I've been to the headquarters before. I've got some buddies that work over there. So I was out there in 2022 and got to see it. But to be back in this context, working with Adidas was just an absolute incredible experience. And that's kind of when things started to kind of made me realize like, maybe there's some cool opportunities with this running thing if I just continue to invest in sharing about my running life and my personal life and my photo life and everything in between. That maybe more opportunities like this can come my way. And yeah, but that was a really cool. I got to go with one of my good buddies, Tom Black as well. So we got to be there together, and I got to meet some other cool runners in the community in the U.S. but also worldwide. So I made some fun friends. But yeah, love Adidas and love what they're doing. I think they're yeah one of my favorite running shoe brands for sure
Yeah.
at the moment.
I also have like a personal question for you on that because, like I told you, I'm running my marathon next Saturday actually, and I was thinking I would run in the Puma Fast R3. Realized that they're actually not the best for my legs. They're fast, but I just got shin
Is that
splints
that
from
new
it.
one with that weird thing on the front, the forefront?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? What does it look like? It's the nitro. Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't like those?
Well, they're super fast, so I can't argue that. But I have not had any niggles for now since Boston, and then after 2 runs in those, I started having some. So I just
Ooh,
don't see anything else
yeah.
that I changed. So I was
Yep.
thinking, okay, I'll go back to my Nike Alpha Flies, but I've also been using the Adios Pro for a lot of my thresher workouts this year.
Yep.
Love those. And then
Love
today
them.
I bought the Pro Evo 2 because they came out in the retail stores today. So I
Saw them.
bought those. And then I'm
I
like,
saw.
okay, is it a bit too risky just trying them once next week and then do the marathon in them? Or, well, yeah,
Yeah.
what would you
I
have
mean, if you
done?
have, yeah. I mean, I got yeah. They gifted us a pair of those when I was at that Adidas thing. They're still in my bag. I haven't even worn them once. I'm waiting. I plan on racing New York in them. I would like. I'm possibly even going to race in them in Copenhagen. I've been waiting for the right run I just want to put at least anywhere from 10 to 12 miles on them. I just haven't done it yet. So I need to do that probably soon if I want to consider racing them in for Copenhagen. But they're an incredible shoe. I was always all of my races, except from one, I've raced in Nike. And I do believe for me, like you mentioned about Puma, um, I I've had a few buddies who say that their shin splints have come from the Alpha Fly threes. And so I would use those a lot last year, and I raced in them in Chicago, and then a few months later, everything started to unravel with my shin splints. Had never dealt with those ever before, so I went pretty hard on the Alpha Flies. I was using a lot in January, February, March of this year when things started to flare up, and so I've cut those out of my routine, and I've kind of stuck specifically to the Adidas Pro Fours, and I've noticed a really big change as well, and those have been really helpful. But I would definitely, if you can fit a nice 8 to 12 mile run in those new ones you just got, just to see how the toes feel, if there's any hot spots or blister points, or see if they feel nice. You may want to. Which one are you running, by the way? What marathon
So
are you
it's
running?
actually one in my home city in Trondheim. So it's
Oh wow.
first time I'm running a marathon in Norway actually.
Okay,
So
that's awesome.
I've done I've done two. So I did one in Rhode Island and then I did Boston this spring.
Jeez. Wow. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to race one here. It's kind
Yep.
of just to get another qualifying time for Boston next year because even though I ran okay in Boston, I think the cutoff time is gonna be a bit
A little
rough
bit.
this year. So
Okay,
just to make sure I'm in, I'm doing that,
that's
and
good.
then Valencia in December.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Valencia's a good one. I would love to run that one at some point. That's in December, right?
Yeah,
Valencia?
yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I would obviously be careful, if you're familiar with the Alpha Flight 3s for sure and the Pro 4s, maybe go that route, but those shoes are incredible. So once you get them, if you can get 8 to 12 miles on them, to see how they feel, I would definitely say send it,
Yeah.
because they're an incredible shoe. I mean, I've never ran them yet. I've tried them on and they feel
Mhm.
incredible. And a lot of my buddies who've put miles on them really speak highly of them.
Yeah, they look so nice too. So it's
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
and they
like,
look
yeah,
the gray and red ones, right?
yeah,
I don't know if they
yeah.
have any other colors of it, but
No.
yeah, they're nice.
Feel like, when it comes to running, especially these days, style is so important, the fashion aspect of it. I'm just kind of surprised by how much I care. Whenever Bandit now comes out with a new collection, I'm just
Yeah.
online and I'm almost like, oh no, why? Like,
Yeah,
because,
I'm about to spend so much money, right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
and obviously that's, I guess, like kind of your fault for taking such good photos of the product.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, they do a good job with the product. Artist kills it with kind of the design and the fabrics and all the shapes that she uses. But no, yeah, it's been really cool to be a part of the Bandit family for the last several years and to be able to be on some of the photo shoots with them and to create just a beautiful set of a body of work that I'm really proud of and that proud of how the whole team has kind of come together to make these photos possible. But it makes my job pretty easy when you're photographing products like Bandit running gear because it's very sexy and it looks good on everybody and it performs really well. I've raced and train almost every day and racing everything in Bandit, so I've been using it every day, yeah, for the last several 2-3 years now, and so I love it.
How is it to work with a brand, or like you're obviously now a very passionate runner yourself and a photographer, and you're able to
Mhm.
shoot film with runners and a brand that is really up and coming and such a big part of, especially the American running
Yeah.
community. It's
Yep.
like it's huge, right? So what is it like for you? Is it more fun than a lot of other projects? Does it, spark something extra in you?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite shoots. I think I have another one this year at some point or maybe early next year, but um I've just been working with him for so long now that like we just know how each other works. Like I know how Tim works when he's on set, who's the co-founder of Bandit and bu- the creator behind a lot of the concepts that we shoot. So he and I have a really good working relationship, and I kind of know the things and the themes and the things that he's looking for. Obviously, every photo shoot's different. There's new collection, there's new models that we're using, different locations, different concept, different things, vignettes that we want to focus on photographically. But and he also knows how I work. He's seen me 4 or 5 times now on shoots. He knows how much I shoot, what I look for, things. And so he knows what to expect, and I know what to expect from him. So we've just got a really good give and take, and he gives me a long leash to kind of play around with some of my ideas that I have, and I make sure that I'm pretty collaborative to get things that I know he wants. And so it's great. It's unlike any other shoot I'm on because when I'm on other shoots, athletic or not, for different clients, they've got a very specific thing they're looking for. And sometimes I have a long leash and I have a lot of creative freedom, and I get to shoot what I want. But the stuff with Bandit, it doesn't even feel like work. None of my shoots do. It's like I said, I love what I do, and so I'm always happy when I'm shooting. But the Bandit one's always the most fun because it's my sport. It's my movement. I know how this feels. I know how that fabric feels because I've ran in it. I know uh, I think about ideas photographically when I'm running. I was like, oh, this would be a cool idea to shoot this kind of thing in this way, especially with film. So it's been fun to kind of flush out and try some of those ideas on these Bandit shoots. We've had every shoot I've done has been just a huge success because of such a great team that is working on it. That goes down from the video, from design, Ali, artist, Tim, Nick, John. I mean, everybody. It's just such a good team to work with, and I love everything we've made.
Yeah, I think you guys have done an amazing job. I mean, I'm sitting here now with a lot of the new collection, the fall collection. I got it
Oh,
yesterday,
nice. Did
so
you get some stuff?
yeah, way too much.
Nice.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
like, with every drop this summer fall, I've paid like, I don't know, I got like five to $600 worth every time they dropped something. So
Oh
I'm
my
just,
gosh.
like,
That's awesome.
I need this podcast to take off soon so I can justify somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, but you're also working with like a lot of other brands, or like you're also a BPN athlete, right?
Mhm.
And you did mention Jeff Cunningham. Yeah, there you are
Yep.
representing. I'm curious about being a part of a team like that and having Jeff as a coach, how has
Yeah.
that changed your training? You did mention that you've been injured, and so you integrated more of the strength training into your training. What other
Yeah.
changes have you made?
Yeah. I think having the BPN sponsorship, and I even it is a sponsorship, but like I'm such good friends with Nick Bear now. Him and his wife Steph and his kids and my wife Maddie and all of it. We've all hung out, and it's been awesome to get to know Nick really well over the last several years, and to be a part of what him and his team are building there at BPN. And I was very shocked when they wanted to sign me back. I think they signed me like the week before Chicago Marathon last year. I was pretty caught off guard by it, honestly, just because I'm like I feel like I don't fit that mold, the BPN mold, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just am like, I'm this, artist, runner, skinny dude. Like, I don't know, like I'm not a hybrid athlete. I just run marathons, and so I just feel like I don't have a fitness audience at all. Like my my photography audience that I've built is very just they love all things photography, all things film camera and travel and photo books. Some of them, a very small percentage, started to care and give a rip about running. That's why I started a separate account for my running stuff because I think they were just getting so tired of me posting workouts from Strava. They're like, dude, what am I even looking at here? Show me some Gary Winogrand photo books, or show me some film, or show me your Leica MP. What that's all they care about. And so I had to like really step back and be like, okay, let's shift more of my running stuff over here so I can kind of dedicate towards that. And that's been going really well. And I have a lot of fun just kind of having another outlet creatively to share about my running life. So when it kind of came by, like obviously I was friends with Nick, and I didn't even think that I would even be on their radar just because, you know, I never like was like hoping that they signed me. I was just like, oh, Nick's doing great. He's crushing it. They're adding awesome athletes to the thing. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. They would always send me products and I would use it and loved it and use it for a long time before they signed me. But when it came by, I was like, oh my gosh, this is sick. Like I would love to do this. This would be a perfect fit. And especially my relationship with the company at that point. And so when it came, it obviously I was like, no way. But then also I was like, oh, this makes sense. I've had a handful of friends who are athletes with BPN. So it was kind of like just a beautiful homecoming. And it's been awesome ever since. It's been almost a year now. So and I've been training with all their supplements and products and gels, and they just launched their G1M Sport Plus, which I think is my favorite product, which has the caffeine and the nootropics for mental focus, and I use it before every big workout, and it plays a big difference. But no, it's been amazing to be a part of BPN. They really care about this community. They care about their athletes, and they've definitely set the standard. I feel very loved and supported by them. But yeah, love them. And then, yeah,
Is that also how you started working with Jeff, or did you start working with him
exactly.
before?
Yeah, I think that was no, I was working with my coach here in Nashville, Chase, for my first several marathons. He's also my physical therapist, so whenever I have an injury or something, he helps me with my shin. I see him every few weeks. Um, But I think when joining the BPN team, Jeff coaches most of those athletes. And so I think joining the team, I just wanted to feel part of the team. I wanted to not just have my own coach and go rogue. Like if I was going to join BPN, I really wanted to embrace everything that was and is BPN. And I think when people think of BPN, and if you're pretty connected in the running community and you know of Jeff, and Jeff and BPN go hand in hand, like it's just how it is. It's like yeah, I don't know. And so I obviously was very familiar with Jeff before signing with BPN. Uh, but once I signed with BPN, it was just like, oh, let's kind of migrate, and he's coaching everyone else. Let's just kind of jump on the train and get to work. I'm very sad how it has happened because I signed Race Chicago. He wasn't coaching me yet, and so he coached me through the winter, December, January, February, March, and then my shin splints and then I've just been injured ever since and it has nothing to do with Jeff and how he's coached me at all. It's just been I haven't done strength in 4 years. I haven't lifted a freaking weight ever since I started running, and I think my body has just said enough is enough. Help us, help you is what my body has been trying to tell me for the last 4 years. It's like, Joe, you're running these paces and you're getting faster. Like your muscles need to be stronger. And I think after 4 years of just not doing that and neglecting that, my body started to break down. My shin started to explode. Everything was getting off. My gait was feeling weird. My hip flexors are tight. My glutes are tight because I don't do it. So everything was overcompensating and trying to help and just like reach for any kind of like help and safety net, and my legs were just shutting down, and so adding strength into it has been a huge component. And so I feel bad that Jeff really hasn't seen me race yet since I've been his coach, since he's been my coach. And so I'm excited to hopefully have a good showing, both in Copenhagen and New York. But Jeff is, as you'll see here soon, Jeff is awesome. He is full of energy. He's incredibly smart. He's brilliant with all things just pacing, and he just knows how to get you where you need to be. Like he doesn't give you too much too soon. He doesn't give you too little. Like it's like the perfect. So that's why like when I'm looking every week and I get my new workouts, it's just like I just got to trust Jeff knows what the heck he's doing because he does. You look at his track record and the amount of PRs, the amount of success his runners have had is unbelievable. And that was really exciting going into it. It's like, okay, he's got a system that works. My body was breaking down when I first signed with him. And so I had to get my body right. And so now that it's getting right, I'm excited. And I've seen where my fitness is the last 8 weeks. And to know that I have another 8 to 9 weeks before I race New York is a very good sign. So he's awesome. I'm excited for you to have him on the podcast. You're going to have an absolute experience.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have him on. It was funny because yesterday I had a chat with Ingrid Christiansen, who is like she had the
Mhm.
world record on in the marathon for 13 years, and I was talking
Wow.
to Jeff just before because we were planning our recording, and he was like, "Oh, can you like?" She meant so she's meant so much to my coaching and my and, like she's had such an impact on my coaching, and so he had some questions that I asked her
Oh
in
my
the
gosh, that's
episode. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that was actually really cool. I mean, she's Norwegian, but I don't think I realized until talking to her how much of a legend she is
Oh, that's awesome.
within marathons. So,
Yeah.
but I've noticed that you have like on your runs, you are. It almost seems like you're competing with yourself in terms of having as low heart rate as possible on your easy runs. You seem to be really good at keeping the easy runs easy, uh,
Mm. Yep.
and so uh, and this is I guess a question about like how you've done it before, but also now with Jeff in terms of your training for people who are listening and who are now starting to get into marathons. What would your advice be in terms of the structure of your training, in terms of like how many threshold workouts and how much of it should be easy? Like in your experience, what has that been like, and what do you recommend for others?
Yeah, I'm definitely got a few ideas on this. I definitely have ever since like my Chicago build last year. I would just go on a bunch of runs with some of my buddies that have been doing this a little bit longer, and just kind of prioritizing like when you have those easy days, make them easy. Like just there's no way around it. Like when you got that one or two hard workouts a week, mine's typically on Wednesdays, and then I have the long run workouts on Saturdays. I want to save as much energy in my legs, as much life in my legs as possible for those big workouts. And the only way that that's going to happen is that when you have your Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday easy runs, you don't go rip 650s per mile pace or seven flats per mile pace. But just slow it down. You're not competing. I know we want to show off on Strava. We want to have those coods, but just chill out, take your runs easy because your body and your Wednesday workouts and your Saturday workouts are going to thank you later that you prioritized your easy recovery days. And so that's the one thing I've just really been, been strong about. But in terms of like how many threshold, like that's so dependent on the person. Like I'm never gonna like people ask me about that, like, oh, can you be my coach? Can you just like, dude, I'm still figuring it out. Like up until a few months ago, I didn't even know how to deadlift. Like I am in no way. And I see a lot of people in the running space like start coaching more. Like, what are you doing? How are you coaching? You've only been running for a few years and you want to coach people? Like that's insane to me. That might be a hot take, but like I think there are people that are coaching people when they shouldn't. They don't have the qualifications. They haven't done the training. They haven't done that. So people see that I run certain times and think that I know how to like no way, dude.
No,
I'm still figuring
I
this
agree
out.
with you.
I think there are too many people coaching people that shouldn't be coaching people, and that's just crazy. I understand you gotta pay bills and you gotta do what you gotta do, but, like, and maybe you have taken the time to, like, take classes and courses that I think people should be doing if you're gonna be coaching people, because that can lead to injury, that can lead to other things, and for me, it's just like I am very flattered that people want me, to help them out on stuff, but, like, I don't know your history, I don't know your background, I don't know how your body mechanics are, I don't know what your cadence is, there's so many things that I would need to know that I just, and maybe these, these runners who are doing that ask those questions and know all those little things, but when you're coaching 50, 60, 70 athletes, like, it's a full I got a whole bunch of things I'm working on. I can't have, be responsible of 50, 70 runners. And it's just, maybe there'll become a time and a place where that happens. But for me right now, it's like, I don't know enough. I don't feel confident enough to be able to share information, because I don't want to lead anybody astray. I don't want to lead anyone to an injury. And there's just so many other incredible resources out there now to where people can coach. So I'm not going to share any advice just because I'm still figuring it out. And I'm not the best also with, it's the same way with my photography. I'm not a big like uh, nerd or like tech. Like
Yeah.
I just now started to understand what zone two and VO2 max was. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I run my paces. I know how my body works. I have a, I have a wildly low heart rate. I've been realizing recently, I think it's genetics. I don't think it's because I'm insanely fit. I'm in good shape now, but like I'm running, 10 miles at 7:30 and I'm averaging a 118 heart rate. I think a big part of that is my genetics. I've been doing some blood work and some testing, and I think that's what's happening right now. It's not just because, I'm fit and I can, do that. If I was that fit, I would be running freaking 220s right now and not bonking my last 3 marathons. But in terms of that, I would say, if you're new to this in the marathon thing, there's some really great resources and apps out there that offer coaching. Yeah, and I think if you know someone or you follow somebody who offers coaching, just do your homework and make sure that you feel confident that they are qualified to offer that kind of that information and that kind of advice to you. I think running is so hot and so popular right now. Everybody's trying to figure out a way to capitalize on that and to make some money off of it. And I get it. Hustlers are going to hustle. People are going to work and do what you need to do. But when it comes to offering advice, um, training advice for other people, just make sure you do your homework and to find that out. For me, I found a good situation with Jeff Cunningham. He's very experienced. Been doing this for over 20 years, and I feel really confident that he's leading me down the right path. But yeah, I'm in no position to offer any kind of running coaching advice at all, unfortunately.
But I really appreciate that answer. I think that's great. Like it makes it easier to believe you and trust you in everything that you do. Yeah, I love that answer. But I guess like I can still ask you because I ask all. This is the last question before we
Yeah.
end this conversation. But I ask all the guests on how their long run is. Like, what does a long run look like? Because I feel like everyone
Mm,
solves that in a different way. Like
yeah.
so what does a typical norm or a typical long run look like for you?
Yeah. Um, I've got a I've got one on Saturday, just an easy 17. So I mean, I'll wake up about 4:30. I usually get up around 5:15 every other day of the week for my runs. But on the long runs, I get up a little bit earlier, 4:20, 4:30. I'll make coffee immediately, get that in my system so my bowel movements can start dancing and doing their thing. And then I'll have like a nice like 20-ish minutes, 25 minutes just sitting on the couch, just kind of like waking up, getting my head right, sipping my coffee, eating a Go bar. I'll read my Bible, just kind of getting in the scriptures a little bit. It's quiet time. My wife's asleep, my son's asleep, son's not up. I'm just mentally getting in a good space to get out there and tackle 2+ hours on the feet. Once I get my fuel in, I'll start kind of going through my warm ups that I need to do here in the house to get these 36-year-old freaking legs, getting them, waking up and getting them feel lively. So I kind of go through my systems there. And I'll typically, yeah, go to the bathroom and get dressed and head out the door around 5:30. Um, and then sometimes depending on what the workout is, so like an easy 17, I'll probably bring 2 gels. One is 6 miles, one is 12 miles. That'll be kind of half and half all the way through. And then depending if it's like hot, like we kind of have a cold front right now, so it's a little chilly. it won't be too hot on Saturday, I'll bring a bottle of my carb kind of electrolyte mix that I bring through BPN. They're G1M Sport, so I'll bring that as well, and then yeah, just go about my day and on my run. So I try to be done um, about the time my family's waking up. That way I can get home and help with Oliver. But nothing sexy, nothing fun. It's
So,
just
so
up
it's an
pretty early.
easy long run. Your long runs are just easy, or
As of
yeah,
right now, this
yeah,
part of the block,
yeah.
it's just time on feet. It's just
Hmm.
getting the legs stronger. I think after my Copenhagen race, I'll be 7 weeks out from New York. That's when I'm going to start having my long run workouts baked into the long run. So I'll have a big threshold workout, tempo run, something on Wednesday, track workout, more speed focus, interval style, and then my long run workouts will be pretty intense coming after Copenhagen. I'm excited. I'm like waiting for Jeff to give me one of those, but I'm also like I don't want to rush it because they suck and they're so hard. And it's just like I think about it all week. All week I'm just stressing about this long run workout. Is it going to be raining? Is it going to be good weather? What am I eating the few days before? It's just they're more stressful than the races. Like I get more in my head about a long run workout, hard workout that I have to do, which I will probably end up doing 5 or 6 of them right after Copenhagen than I do about the dang race, which is just so funny how that works. But it's those long run workouts that gets you to the starting line, feeling at peace, ready to have a good race, easier because you know you did all those hard long runs 6, 7, 8 weeks before. So
Yeah. Thank you for that. I really
absolutely.
appreciate all of your answers and everything we talked about here and everything that you shared. Uh, and again, appreciate your time and thank you for coming on the Marathon Podcast. And I feel like there are still some questions that I would have loved to ask you. So maybe I just have to have you on again at the
Episode 2.
episode
We'll
two.
do it for
Maybe
episode 2.
after New York, maybe that would be
After New
fun.
York, you
Yeah.
have my word. I would love to come back on and be an honor. Thank you so much for taking
Awesome.
the time. I know you could have so many other people, talented runners out there on this. So I'm grateful that you took the time to have me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
I hope you see what I mean about Joe being such a genuinely nice guy. And if you've listened to this episode or other podcasts, or if you've seen Joe's content, you know who he is. And I can promise you that he is the same person in real life. Really, really appreciate Joe taking the time. I know that he has a very busy life, and him taking the time and being so chill about this, that's something that I really appreciate, and I am sure you as a listener appreciate it too. I'm very curious to see how Joe will do on Sunday in Copenhagen at the half marathon, and obviously even more so how he'll do in New York when he's returning for a marathon there in November. I really hope that we can have him back on at that point, because it would be nice to hear the results and to see how he's doing and what he thinks about his results when we get there. One thing is for sure, I think that we'll see some faster times from Joe going forward, and I can't wait to see how fast he'll get when he gets to New York. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Marathon Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please give this podcast a review and stay tuned for the next episode where we're having the Jeff Cunningham on. And that is actually just part 1 of the episode, because we will have to record another one because we had so much to talk about. Stay tuned. Have a good day. Have a good run. Appreciate you being here. You listen to the Marathon Podcast, brought to you by Wall Studio.